Hey guys, welcome back to Tell Me Everything with Lanz, episode 44. P.S. I'm on YouTube. This is the second episode. So if you are in your car, still listen on Spotify or Apple. But if you're not, watch us on YouTube. Guys, I've been waiting to have this guest on for a while. She met me in the craziness of an event at the World Economic Forum, and since then we've been inseparable. No, I'm kidding. But really, we worked on a project together, and I had the privilege of really working on a project. Faten AlMasri, did I say that right?
That's correct.
Has had 20 years of experience in the strategic communications field. But before that, she attended military school in Alabama. Guys, we're going to get into that because I have a lot to say. She also served in the Jordanian Armed Forces. She is recognized in the region as a woman in leadership in the comms industry, an established figure in the public and private sectors. Today, we're going to dive into Faten's story, how she got to where she is today, and what her journey looked like, because that's a long one, it seems like. Faten, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
That's a great intro.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think I'm that interesting.
You are. This is why you're on Tell Me Everything with Lanz. I just don't bring anyone on this show.
No, it's a privilege.
So for starters, I want you to tell us a bit about your background and honestly how the journey led you to first attend military school in Alabama, because I think that's very interesting.
Okay, I don't know how far back I should go, but I do think that every milestone in my journey comes one way or the other. I don't know why. Now that I look back, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense. When I was in military college, my last year, I was what they called a battalion officer in S5, and the S5 is the communication officer.
So you kind of dig into that at the beginning.
And before that, I was in the newspaper of the college. Before that, when I was in high school, I did a lot of writing, took a lot of poetry classes. So I was into, but I just didn't brand it communication, because I never really thought about communication. It wasn't part of the conversation. So if I mentioned that a little while ago, is that, the youngsters don't actually know that communication is an option to them. It's not something, at least for my generation, was an option at the time. But when I was born and raised in Kuwait.
Oh, like my husband.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I'll talk about that later.
We have to gravitate. All the Kuwaiti people who were in Kuwait before the Gulf War always gravitate towards each other. So I was in Cairo when the invasion happened, and basically was stuck there, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, everyone who was in the Universal American School of Kuwait happened to be in Cairo, and the owner of the school at the time, I forget his name now, was planning to open an American school in Cairo, but that was like 10 years down the line or 5 years down the line. So he sped everything up because all the students were there.
Yep.
All the teachers were there. He had most of the licensing in place, and literally he rented a floor in one of the complexes in Nasser City in Cairo.
Wow.
And opened up the American International School of Egypt.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't even know that. I had no idea that happened.
I was actually one of the very first people who went to that school, but I was the third class to graduate from there.
Oh, damn.
And after that, when I decided to go to military college, I was always, I was always the kind of person in my peers that was always doing something different. I don't know, maybe I'm twisted that way. I don't know, but this different things interested me, right? And I always kind of had this sense of, I want to do something in my country. I want to serve one way or the other. The funny thing is my connection with my country started very late.
I was going to say, did you not have a connection more to Kuwait than Jordan?
Exactly. I actually did. My father passed away when my mother was pregnant with me, 3 months. And so I actually was born and raised by my stepfather, who's Kuwaiti.
Okay.
So, I grew up thinking I was Kuwaiti when I was 8 years old. Obviously, that's when we had the sit down, and I, was informed that I was Jordanian and not Kuwaiti. So there's a bit of an identity crisis there. But at some point in my early teens, I felt like I needed to belong somewhere. And the turning point for me was watching the late King Hussein drive back from his first treatment and seeing how people were in the street. And I had maybe been to Jordan a few times then. I didn't really have that connection with my country. I was Jordanian, but born and raised in Kuwait. All I knew was really Kuwait.
Yeah.
Right? But then there was like this aha moment when I saw that, oh my God, there's something about this man. There's something about this land. And I'm Jordanian. I want to be able to connect with my country. But also I had this strong sense of serving. I wanted to serve my country one way or the other. So I, cut a long story short, got the opportunity to go to military college in Alabama. of all places. It could have been the
I was
citizen.
gonna say Alabama because I was born in Dallas, Texas. So when you say Alabama, I'm like, what?
It's
like
called
that,
Alabama the Beautiful. I don't care what anyone says. I love that state.
Have you been back since?
No, actually, since
Okay.
I haven't been back to the U.S. since 2000, before September 11.
Wow.
I don't know the U.S.
Wow.
post 9/11.
Yeah,
right.
It's a different world.
But the thing is I'm still very much connected with everyone I went to school with.
Wow.
I'm very connected with like my professor of military science.
Yeah.
We're very, very close friends. So a lot of these people actually affected and impacted me one way or the other. And so it's amazing when Facebook came out, how
Of
it brought us
course.
all together.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I got an opportunity to go. I actually was going to go study in Beirut because it's not easy for an Arab to have to go to military.
Yeah.
But there's a long due process, if you will.
Totally.
And so it took longer than expected. And so I thought, okay, this isn't going to happen. So I was going to go study in Beirut. And actually, while I was there, we got the call. And within a matter of 3-4 days, I packed up.
You're like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Alabama, here I come.
And I swear that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And I have to say that like my mom was really very, very brave. I just got on a plane and went to Alabama.
Yeah,
like right
it's her
now,
child,
my
yeah.
kids now, when they travel anywhere, I'm like, you call me the night before you board, you text me when you land.
There's actually a meme about that saying like,
send me a picture of the gate.
yes, no matter what age you are right now, I always send my mom a picture or like, I'm here, I landed. And then
I
back
think
then, I mean, there was no phones, there's no social media
Nothing.
like this.
They were really brave.
You went to Alabama, and were you like in culture shock?
I wasn't.
In Kuwait and Cairo and
Well, the first semester I was very. It was one of those like, what did I get myself into?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure the bare minimum. I think, yeah.
What's this waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning? It's still dark.
Holy
What's this? Doing PT and then you have to go back and then you have to be in class and then there was this they call it a West Point Plebe cycle. I now forget what they call it in our college. That's how old I am. My memory's completely shot. But like the first initiation phase that you go through, it's things like you have to walk with your right shoulder to the wall. You cannot sit at a dinner table until one of the leading officers comes.
That's
and then,
discipline.
Yeah, that's discipline. So you'll put your tray at the dinner table, you stand at rest parade until you wait for an officer to come and tell you to sit down. And you have to eat at 45 degrees. It's all the cliche things that you hear about. It's actually
like
quite
the
true.
movies.
It's all very true. I didn't even know that you needed a 45-degree angle collar on your bed. And so we did a lot of tricks whereby we would fix our bed but then we'd sleep on top of it, right? With our own blanket.
So then when you wake up, it's there.
Exactly. You just
Wow,
have to iron the collar so it doesn't look like you actually slept on top of the bed and stuff like that.
So smart. So smart. I mean, that's a lot of discipline. Like, how do you go from, I would assume a very like fluid, I know Cairo maybe back then was a bit more conservative, but like a fluid life going to like discipline, 45-degree bed sheets. Did you feel, was there like a moment of like, I can't do this, I need to go home? Or were you kind of motivated to get through college there?
I was motivated to get through it. I really didn't have much of a choice. Like I had to succeed.
Okay.
Right?
Is that how you always been?
Kind of.
Okay.
And I think I would attribute that to two things. One is my mother. My mom, she's, God rest her soul, was a super powerful woman. She was an entrepreneur from like the early, to what we call today an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Was back then a struggling single mother,
Yeah.
fighting for her kids. And the second thing is being raised with horses. I've been around horses since I was 5. And so because it's a huge animal, you have to respect their space. You have to respect their behaviors. You have to read their behaviors because they're not vocal creatures, right?
Yeah.
So everything, even a flick of the ear means something, right? So I think all these things kind of help me be able to adapt to being disciplined. But yes, was it a culture shock? Yes. I didn't even know what grits were until I got there. Right? I still don't like grits. I don't like grits. I don't like them salty, and I don't like
grits either. I'd rather have like mashed potatoes or like
tater tots.
Yeah, tater tots. I love tater tots. Attributed to my freshman 35. So when you graduated military school, were you like, okay, I'm going to the military
Immediately? Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah.
And how was that experience? Was that like a culture shock in another culture shock? Because I've talked about this before on the podcast of like the third culture kid syndrome, right? You're born somewhere, then you live somewhere, then you travel somewhere, and you don't really have an identity. But you're saying you're Jordanian. Like you went to military school to serve your country. Did you adapt quite quickly when you went to the Jordanian Armed Forces?
No, it wasn't easy at all. First of all, it was, a lot of people say the cliche thing, it was male dominating and you struggled and stuff like that. A part of that was true. However, Jordan was actually very ahead of the game in that front. We had, police academy for women. So it wasn't like a complete culture shock to have women serving shoulder to shoulder with the men. The thing that was to my disadvantage, and I'm going to be very honest with this, and I'm very embarrassed to say, my Arabic was weak.
It's okay, girl.
Right. But
I got it. I get it. Because you're born in Jordanian armed forces. I got
everything is in Arabic.
Yes.
You have to learn to converse in Arabic. You have to be, assertive and forceful and make some kind of sense in Arabic.
And
right? So I struggled. Speaking and having conversations was okay. I, kind of those
managed.
Especially also my roots, I come from a tribe.
Yeah.
A very Bedouin Jordanian tribe. So they have a very heavy gal gulna type of accent, right? And here I came, I'm like, I don't know how to say that. كيف واحد بيحكي هيك? So it was a bit embarrassing, but my written was very weak, right? And it's, you have to do reports, you have to do stuff like, so it was very weak. And that I felt worked against me, and it had nothing to do with my gender whatsoever. And so I gave myself a challenge to, if I need to succeed in this environment, I need to be able to succeed in this environment. And if the first hurdle was to get my act together and be good at our mother tongue, that's what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Right. So
were you able to, adapt quite quickly after the whole, of course, the Arabic thing, but adapt quite quickly to, okay, this is what I've been wanting to, this is what I guess military school is 4 years as well, right? For your college?
It depends on the commissioned officers program. I was there for about 3 years.
Okay. After 3 years, like, okay, this is what I've worked towards. Did you feel, like at the age of what, like 24, did you feel like, oh, wow, this is what I was working towards and I feel released? Or did you feel, no, there's some sort of fulfillment I need to still go towards?
That's a very good question. After I was active duty for about, I think, 2 or maybe 3 years now, I forget. This opportunity came where so the internet was starting to appear. Okay. And it was actually playing an important role in the armed forces at the time.
Yeah.
And while that was happening, there was an opportunity that presented itself to me, which was to work with Arabia.com.
Okay.
Which was a .com startup.
Yeah.
And Prince Walid bin Talal had bought major shares, etc. And I was like, this seems to be the future. And I knew nothing at the time about the internet, but I don't know, there was some voice in my head that said, maybe you should try this because you don't always get an opportunity twice. And that's also something my mom taught me. My mom said that you could be doing something really, really great, but God will just throw an opportunity at you, and you have to be smart enough to know when to take it and when to pass.
Absolutely.
And that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I think I've served for 2 to 3 years. I'd like to try something new. And it wasn't that I didn't want to continue serving. I got the opportunity to serve my country again down in my career with the mayor's office. So I went, and that's, by the way, where I met MK, my husband.
No way!
Yeah. I hated him when I first met him.
Girl, you're not the only one. I'm kidding. Sorry, MK. I'm sure you're going to be listening to watching this. You met him when you signed up with Arabia.com?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, he was there working.
Well, this kind of makes sense.
He was leading at the time what was called the community forum or the community affairs.
Okay.
Which is like user experience type thing.
Okay.
But everything to do with like the chats, the chat rooms and the forums and whatnot. So he was responsible for the entire division. I was in the marketing and comms. Yet another milestone. Somehow I found myself there, right?
And this is an opportunity you just took. You're like, let me try out. You did say that you had some like editorial experience in the past, but this was like, I'm going to try marketing. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I didn't know anything about .com.
Yeah.
and I'm always willing to learn. I remember the first time I sat with my boss at the time. My direct boss was someone who's a very dear friend of mine now. Her name is Nadine Toqan. She was one of the people who set up the Royal Film Commission in Jordan. So I have a great deal of respect for her. But the head of the .com company at the time, I forgot what his title was, he sat with me and he said, we need to do like this e-commerce platform. I had no clue what an e-commerce platform was. I have no idea. And he was just yapping away, throwing jargon at me that I had no idea what he was talking about. So I pretended to understand and nod politely. I walked out of that meeting and I said, okay, I have 24 hours to walk in an expert in this. I'm not going to be in this position again. And I studied like nobody's business.
Wow.
Like nobody's business overnight. I looked at all the affiliates, and that was when I also met the Amazon thing at the time. They were one of the first affiliates of Arabia.com
Wow.
at the
Yeah.
time. And I walked in 24 hours. I guess it was a day or two. Yeah. I walked in and I had a full business plan for the e-commerce platform.
Wow.
I had everything. And I became an expert just because I didn't want to feel like an idiot again. Like, I'm not going to, I literally had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, I'm never going to put myself in that position again. And I actually haven't since.
Wow. So since the Arabic, you're saying situation, you've never put yourself in a position where you haven't known something fully.
Yeah. Or
Wow.
at least I need to make sure that I am as informed as possible before I walk in front of a client or in front of anybody else.
Do you think that's contributed to your leadership style today? Because you lead a lot of people and a lot of teams. And by the way, we work at the same company, but you lead a lot. Well, yeah, we work at the same company, so I kind of know her. But you lead, even like when we were on one project together, and you have a lot of people under you. Do you think you implement this leadership style to your team?
You
Of
know,
like learn your shit.
Yeah, well, well, yes, I find that very
Yes,
frustrating
yes.
when we're supposed to be the experts,
Yes.
and then you don't do your homework and you sit in front of a
Absolutely.
client,
Yeah.
and it's not a good look for any of us,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think leadership is a formula.
Okay.
I really don't. I truly, and I think this is also attributed to my military training,
No, okay.
because any decision you make is a matter of life or death when you're in that kind of environment.
For sure.
Right,
I thought you were
so-
talking about comms. I'm like, I don't think
No,
my
no, no,
social
but-
media post is like
no.
life or death.
No, in the military, and it's not just your life, it's the life of the people you're responsible for.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to be as informed as possible to make the right decision. And I think that is the one motivation for me to get people to be driven towards the same cause. Because I feel that, to me, I believe that that's what leadership is to inspire people to push in the same direction with you. You know?
I was going to ask if your military background has influenced your leadership style. Because I think, like, as you're saying, it's life or death, of course, when you're in the military. But when it comes to communications in this industry, say you have a team that's kind of like struggling on a project, for example. I mean, it happens a lot. I'm sure in 20 years it's happened a lot.
Yeah.
Do you kind of take your military style and bring it into the team to try and either motivate them, stay on track, complete the project, get the client happy, all those things?
Yeah, I mean, the military background helped with the structure.
Okay,
and
yeah.
the drive. Obviously, sometimes when you have to be drill sergeant, I kind of have to be a drill sergeant. But then I do that with pride. I know some people who feel bad when they have to push teams. I don't,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's because of my military background. You have to push people. Sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just like with riding. When I'm working my horse in a specific training program, and my trainer always says this, if it feels good, you're not doing enough. If it feels comfortable and you're going with a ride, then you're not doing it. It's not, you're not working yourself or your horse.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel that that's the same thing with our work.
I do believe, like, when I've been in uncomfortable positions, which I've been a lot in the last 6 years, that's when I grow.
Yeah.
That is exactly when I grow. When I'm uncomfortable, I don't know what to do. I have to learn it really fast. So let's talk about personal life.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. So you met MK, you said, early on in your career when you started the marketing communications industry. While dating, were relationships at the back burner not something that you wanted to really focus on? Was it more career driven early on?
For sure. I didn't even want to get married.
Okay,
I was be very much career oriented. Marriage was not in the cards for me at all. But then here comes MK. Right? I started with Arabia.com in January.
Okay.
February I met MK.
Okay.
Hated his guts.
Fair.
Then he just said one thing that was so funny. And I was like, actually, this guy is really intelligent.
Yeah.
Very smart and really funny. And then we dated in April.
Okay. Wait, of that year?
Yes.
Damn, you move fast.
Yeah. For someone who did not want to get married.
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
engaged in June and married in October.
Wait, whoa. In the same year?
In the same year. Even my mom was like, what? Are you sure?
She was like, wait, that is, okay. Whoa. How long have you been married for?
We're going on 24 years.
Holy shit. Well, what I wanted to ask, okay, you got married. I know MK, because I know MK, he's also very career oriented, focused on his career. Have you felt like in your last 24 years of marriage, you've had to sacrifice time, I don't know what, trips with him or your family because of your career?
Well, yes. I mean, we all have to sacrifice. But I think the motivation for the sacrifice is different.
Okay.
When you're raising a family, right? It wasn't that I have to put my career first. It wasn't that at all. It was, you know, we were two equal contributing members to our family. We had to support our family. And that was the motivation by, okay, if I have to have spent time away from the kids, then he would be at home. Luckily, when the kids were younger, I was not working on the consultancy side.
Okay.
I was working in public office, which meant that I was in Amman.
Okay.
Crazy hours, obviously, because it was, you know, working for the public sector. But still, I was home in those formative years of the kids' lives.
For
right?
sure.
And there was one oath that I took upon myself, which was, even if I had the most important meeting and my life depended on it, if I needed to be in school to attend a play or a parent-teacher meeting or whatever, I was there. Because for me, you know, my mother worked throughout my young years, but I don't remember many of the days, but I do remember the days she wasn't there. Right?
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. And when I was younger, obviously I was sad about it. And then when I became a parent, I look back, I understood that she had to do what she had to do because she was a single parent.
For sure.
But back then I remember how that felt. And I took an oath upon myself to make sure my kids never felt that way at all. But now they're older. They're 20 and 17 and 18. One's about to go to college. The other one's in college. And I'm just like, yeah, you know, do your own thing now.
Because I think a lot of conversations now, I mean, if you see it on TikTok, stuff, it's like career-driven women, have the kids, have the husband, have the I don't know what, you can have it all. My problem with that, you can have it all, and I feel like it creates this dream or like reality or not reality that women sometimes can't always have it all, and that's okay. And I feel like we haven't normalized that is okay to say, I'm not going to go to a meeting because my kids take priority. And I think that's okay to do. I think right now we're in a stage in life and on social media that women have to be career driven, have to be, and there's kind of like a little bit of a negative stereotype to women who want to like stay at home and be with their kids and quit their jobs and go back to the workforce. Do you believe it has to be one or the other?
No, I don't. I think that we all should define women empowerment differently, right?
Are you a feminist, by the way?
Am I a feminist? No, I'm not a feminist. I believe in women empowerment and I believe in human empowerment and I believe in everyone's empowerment. So no, I'm not a feminist. I do believe that we as individuals play a role irrespective of our gender.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm a mother, I have a role to play for my children,
For
a role
sure.
to play within my family, right? So, and you know, I the word feminist actually gets under my skin. It's
these days,
outdated.
Yes.
Right?
This number one, for sure.
And second of all, when they talk about women empowerment, actually it's not women empowerment anymore. It's women advancement, right?
I like
we're
that.
Way beyond empowerment.
Yeah.
We don't need to wait for someone to empower us, right? And I think the special thing about my relationship with MK in our almost 24 years of marriage is space. Gave me the space to be the mom I wanted to be. He gave me the space to have the friends I wanted to have. He gave me the space to be the show jumper and the compete at shows, or just, you know, choose to not compete for 6 months and just go to the stables and ride my horses, or the space to pursue my career. A complete space. I mean, in 2015, I took the kids and we were in Bahrain for a year.
Wow.
With APCO, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, typically people like, you know, you let MK let you go for a year. I'm like, yeah, the kids and I went on a journey for a year.
Yeah.
Why not? Right? So I think that's the most important thing is space across the board. And that's why it's successful for us.
I love that, actually. I love that space. So me and Khaled also, and I've talked about that on this podcast about like having independence. Like I did a solo episode actually where I was like, I'm trying to figure out my priorities and independence, because I went from living at home, we were engaged, whatever. It's not that I can't do what I want, but you don't really think of the other person until you're living with them. You're like, oh shit, like I gotta think about, right? Like Friday night plans. I invited the girls over last Friday. I was like, babe, you okay with this? Like, yeah, bro, like I'm fine with it. Go have your wine night. But you have to be more aware, I think, of your partner and maybe like what they want to do. And it's not always about me. And I have to think about something else. And I've learned this is one of the growing pains, I think, of first year of marriage.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, has it been challenging to work with MK?
Well, no.
With your partner, I would say.
Yeah, no, not at all. But, you know, after 24 years, you know.
At the beginning. Was it hectic at the beginning?
No,
Was it?
again,
No.
Space. I was doing my thing. He was doing his thing. And no, and I think that even when you're a family and you work together, right? It's only complicated if you let it become complicated, right? But he knows what I need to do, and I know what I need to do, and I know what he needs to do. And we respect that. And again, space to succeed and space to fail. But at the end of the day, there's support system at home, and that's really all that matters. So no, I mean, MK could be just another great guy I work with at work, or just another annoying human being I have to see in the office, right?
I love that. I love that. I think space is one of, I mean, it also depends on the person, right? If you're going to marry someone or be with someone that's controlling, space is not going to happen.
No.
And I think those red flags at the beginning of relationship are, I mean, this is what I discussed in the podcast. Did you date prior to MK?
I date prior to MK.
Like seriously dating, where you could be like, oh, that's not what I want. I want someone that gives me independence and space and freedom to grow in my career.
See, no, I was the one person who was doing different things from my peers, right? I wasn't in the dating scene. I was the kid who stayed home, who stayed after school to chat with my teacher. Not that I'm a nerd.
Oh my God, wait, what?
Yeah, I was not a nerd, but like I was in the basketball, school team.
Okay.
Even though I'm not tall, but
Yeah.
I was in the volleyball.
You're like, I was there.
Yeah.
Made myself present.
I like to do extracurricular things at school, and I was very much an involved student.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I did go to like the school parties and stuff like that. But dating in the sense of dating, no, I don't think I was ever.
Would you say there was one turning point in your career where you're like, I made it? Or was it just like a lot of, because I mean, you were on a lot of different teams. You were in Amman, and then you were in Bahrain, and then you were in Dubai, and then you were in Saudi. Was there one turning point or one project where a client were like, I've made it. Like I've made it in this position.
I suffer from imposter syndrome.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. And I think anybody who doesn't suffer from imposter syndrome are arrogant idiots.
I'm in imposter syndrome right now. I was just discussing it with Khalid last night.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think it humbles us.
Yes.
And it reminds us that, there's always going to be someone better, someone stronger, someone more intelligent. And I think that that's important for us to continuously have so that we can strive to be better. If we think that we're the God's gift to everything and we're great at what we do, then you're not going to have that little thing that's like nudging at you.
You can do better.
To do better, right? And I do believe that no one's indispensable. I believe that there's always going to be someone who's better, smarter, more driven, more whatever. And that's the right of the next generation. And that's really what we're here to do. I'm not going to stay in this position forever. But to me, the moment that I felt that I was most proud of was when my kids told me they were proud of me.
Oh, that's actually so cute. I thought you were going to say something completely different.
Yeah. And what did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. I thought you were going to name some sort of project, be like, oh, this was when I was like, oh, wow, like I know my shit. Like I'm able to be a strategic communication professional, whatever it is. But that is beautiful.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to women like me who are in the earliness of their career, early to mid, striving to be in these leadership positions that maybe men have occupied for a while? Because we're moving in a generation where companies want diversity, right? They want women, they want different nationalities. Do you see this as an advantage for women to get in there? Or do you see it like, no, it is what it is, and it has been like, do the track that you need to do, follow the rules?
I really don't think it's gender related.
Okay.
I really don't.
You don't think it's gender related?
No, I don't. I think that if you walk into a room, and you are a larger than life character, and you have strong presence, and you know your crap, and you know your shit, and you know what you know your stuff, right? That you could be a monster, a green big Hulk walking in, and you would still be chosen for whatever position that is, right? So I really don't think it's gender related. I think it's your emotional intelligence, your presence, your character, but also technically knowing what you need to do at the job. I really believe that. So
what would your piece of advice be to women who are like struggling right now? Or maybe suffering from imposter syndrome, maybe doubting themselves, maybe being like, is this the real, because you change your career track quite fast. So what would you say to women that are like a bit confused?
Well, first of all, it's okay to have imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Right? I think we should normalize it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Listen, I really think we should normalize it.
A lot of the people I work with at the highest level, right, from my clients at the highest level, they all have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I always tell them it's normal because everybody else does.
Yes.
Just you have at least you're brave enough to admit it.
Yes.
Right?
I agree.
I would say that be really good at what you do, right? And if you're really good at what you do, that's only half the story. You also have to have the character. You have to be likable. You have to have empathy. You have to be able to connect on a human level, because we're not robots,
We're not
Right.
AI yet.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, but even still, you should learn how to use AI. Like my son now, his entire career, he's studying digital society.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
So it's all AI,
Yes.
and he's actually helping me incorporate to use AI in my job, right? Well, we're going off subject here.
No, but it's fine because I'm interested in this because I do think that we as individuals need to keep up no matter what industry. I feel like it's quite competitive right now. My brother right now, he just started a job at EY and I can see he's 24.
Yeah.
So so kind of close to your son's age. So I can see that generation is like itching for the competition. They're like, there's a huge pool of people trying to get into these positions. You know what I mean? So what advice would you give to women trying to get in these? Keep trying, just keep going. I think we should also normalize feeling low sometimes. Has there ever been like a low moment, whether it was mental health, whether it was like
I've had plenty of those.
And how do you get out of them?
I had a very strong support system at home. A very strong support system at home. And you have to call a spade. Right? If you are feeling, I think one of the most important conversations to also have is, how do you deal with perimenopause or menopause as well, right? And we're talking about women in the earlier phases of their life and how do they kind of like go into the career and try to carve themselves the space, right? But also women coming towards mid to the end of their career, such as myself, right? These are important conversations to have. What I would say for women is to be strong. Just be strong. And being strong doesn't mean being bitchy and yelling.
Please, no, we don't need that shit.
But be strong. Don't walk into a room and be an oxygen thief, suck up all the good oxygen.
Yeah.
Actually, affect change. Have something memorable to say, something remarkable. So, where people, when you walk back out, people are going to say, wow, that was a person that I need to have another conversation with this person. And it's, again, not about looks or whatever. It's about substance. I think we kind of lose sense of that.
I think I agree with you. Faten, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I really
thank you so much. Guys, like, subscribe. This was an amazing episode. Don't forget, like, subscribe, follow me. I'm on podcast. I'm on Spotify, Anghami, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And also follow me on Instagram at tellmeeverything.withlanz. And I'll see you next week. Bye.